Hello and welcome to another match reaction on Football Talk Podcast. My name's Ozzie and I'm your host for today's show. Apologies for the delay of the show. We were planning to do a match reaction after the game last night, but I missed most of the game, so I thought, why not watch the match over today? And here we are, back to doing the match reaction. So before we review the game, let's have a look at the lineups, which I'll share on the screen view right now, so we can go through it in terms of who I predicted for both teams if it came to fruition at all, and we can discuss it together. So here we go. In terms of the lineup, so for Liverpool, slight surprise to see Joe Gomez in a defensive midfield role. For me, not a huge surprise, as I can kind of see why Klopp selected him to play in that role. When he plays in either fullback positions, he does do the inverted role quite well. And with Endo out and McAllister not fully fit, he was on the bench. It's probably a chance to see how well he does in that new position. And I think he did a decent job. So, so huge surprise in terms of seeing up there. Van Dijk starting the game, I thought he would have been rested for this one, but he played one half, which looking back at it was probably the correct call because there was a lot of young players in this team. So to have a leader on the pitch was definitely the right decision from Klopp. And then Kwanzaa was playing as expected. Bradley and Tsimikas, McConnell, Bobby Clark, as I expected as well. Elliot Gakpo up top. And Kumas was a surprise addition on the left-hand side. I know he's had a good season for the under-18s, I believe, scoring a lot of goals. But yeah, good moment for him on his full debut for Liverpool. In terms of Southampton, a bit of a mixed match in terms of my predictions. I've got some right, some wrong, but hey, I'm not a Southampton fan, so I wouldn't know the team inside out. So you have Lumley starting in goal. Manning is the left back that I thought would start. Bednarak and Stevens comes in. And then you've got Bree on the right-hand side. Then you've got midfield three of Rothwell, Charles, and Aribo. And then Sulemana starts. And you've got Seko Mara and Udozi. So I thought maybe Shea Adams would have started and Armstrong, but they were on the bench. And Kyle Walker-Peters actually came on later in the game. So, yeah, a bit of rotational squad there from Southampton. But, hey, that is their lineup. So let's get into the first half. So, yeah, Liverpool had an early scare, to be fair, as Seko Mara hits the back of the net. I think it wasn't even 1 minute. It's like within the first minute. But he was in an offside position. He's a player I highlighted as a danger man for Southampton. So the warning signs were there. And then a few minutes later, Sulemana was so close to breaking the deadlock for Southampton. He cuts in from the left-hand side, hits the ball with the outside of his foot onto the post. Then Sukumaro follows up moments later with another shot on goal, saved by Kelleher. Liverpool appeared to be nervous, which is understandable due to the lack of experience. But the likes of Van Dijk, Gomez, Tsimikas, and Gakpo need to communicate to the youngsters a bit more to try and ease some of the pressure. Mara has another shot towards goal. Kelleher with another block. Kelleher was brought him his form from the cup final into this game because he was kept busy and he was definitely making a lot of saves. Southampton, to be fair, had looked very dangerous in the opening 10 minutes of the game, and for me, should definitely have been in the lead. Joe Gomez, playing as a CDM, finds himself outside the box, and as you can imagine, the crowd shouts, "Shoot!" and which he does, and lashes the ball, unfortunately, off target. Liverpool have their real first chance of the game as McConnell threads a lovely through ball to Gakpo in the box. He controls it with a half turn, but then he's blocked by three Southampton defenders and wasn't able to execute a shot on goal. Southampton then produced a counter-attack with Sulemana attacking, or leading the attack, I should say. Goes through on the left-hand side, hits a shot across goal, saved by Kelleher once again. And then Harvey Elliott has a crack from long distance. Fantastic save from the Southampton goalkeeper. And then 43rd minute, Liverpool managed to break the deadlock through one of our youngsters, Lewis Comas, who's making his debut, as I mentioned earlier, for Liverpool. He cuts inside, hits a low shot towards goal, gets a lucky deflection, and left Lamley in left-footed. So, hey, they all count. Doesn't matter how it hits the back of the net. So, Huge moment for the youngster there. And Gakpo has another chance just before halftime. Unfortunately, his shot goes wide. So that's the first half. And I have to be honest, Southampton were by far the better team. They were playing some lovely football with a lot of quick passing and had quite a few shots towards goal, keeping Kelleher very, very busy. And they will feel disappointed going into the second half not to have taken the lead. But Liverpool kept going and with a bit of luck found the back of the net. Now, the second half, substitution for Liverpool, Konate comes on for Van Dijk, but Southampton start again in this half very aggressively. Ozzie hits a lovely cross from the right-hand side into the 6-yard box, but Konate gets a toe on the ball and takes it away from Sekou. But the move isn't finished there. Sulemana is on the near post. He hits a shot blocked by Kelleher. Close call again for Liverpool there. Liverpool make a couple of subs around the hour mark. McAllister and Jayden Danns come on for McConnell and Kumas. At that stage, the formation slightly altered to a 4-4-2 with Jayden Danns and Gakpo playing together in a more central role. Jayden Danns gets an instant chance to score, but his shot is blocked for a corner. Ozzie for Southampton attacks on the right-hand side again. His cross is blocked by Konate for a corner. And then in the corner, there was a chance from Charles, who was pretty much a couple of yards away from goal. Unfortunately, his finish hits the side netting. Huge opportunity. It seemed like he took his eye off the goal there. So, yeah, a huge loss for his opportunity there. But in the 71st minute, Liverpool make it 2-0. And it was our young prodigy, Jayden Danns, opening his goal-scoring account for Liverpool. Lovely through ball from Elliott to Danns, who goes through on goal, and he dinks it over the goalkeeper. What a classy finish from the young striker, and such a proud moment for him and his family. And speaking of special moments, there was another one as Trey Nyoni makes his debut for Liverpool, only 16 years old, and you can see the joy in his face before he steps onto the pitch. What a moment. He comes on for Harvey Elliott. And at that stage, we've switched our formation back to the 4-3-3. And Danns gets his second goal of the game. Conor Bradley hits a great shot with the outside of his outside of his foot, saved by the goalkeeper, who parries it away, but not far enough, as Danns showed his killer instinct, and he reacts first, finishing in style like a real predator. And that's the end of the game. Not the best of starts in terms of the first half. I think Southampton were the better team, but with, I would say, persistence, and I feel like the know-how of how to play the game in a more patient manner, we were able to conquer in the second half. We now play Manchester United in the quarterfinals. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of those fixtures where you're hoping we get the win, because if they beat us, we'll never hear the end of it, because obviously we're talking about the quad right now. It's at Old Trafford, but that doesn't faze me whatsoever. I think the match to run either the 16th or 17th of March hasn't been confirmed yet due to other fixtures being played. So once we know which day we're playing, we'll definitely do a match preview before that. And yeah, hopefully we get the win over our rivals there, our noisy rivals, to be fair. And that's our review of the game. So what I'll do before we conclude the show, I will do our player ratings. So let me bring up the graphic for you guys, and we can talk about each player in more detail. So unfortunately, the website that I use, they don't have some of the youngsters registered. So as you can see on the left wing position, I've had to keep it blank because I can't even find a player called Kumas, let alone our Kumas. So just bear with me in terms of what you see from a presentation point of view, but I will discuss his performance as well as the other youngsters that I'm not able to upload on this website here. So let's start with Kelleher. Another solid performance from our goalkeeper there. Considering the scoreline, you would assume he wouldn't have kept busy, but he was kept busy from the opening minute. He made some very crucial saves and is continuing his great form from the cup final. So no, I was very impressed with his performance. Really solid in goal. So I have to give him a good ranking. And for me, Kelleher gets an 8 out of 10. Now, in terms of the next player, Conor Bradley, a decent performance from the fullback. But having said that, I thought he was slightly off with the pace of the game, probably due to the fact that he played in a very intensive game over the weekend in the cup final. So defensively, I felt like he was exposed quite a bit in the first half as Suleimana got the best of him. But he certainly improved in the second half, much better on the ball, almost scored, which then actually led to Jayden Dance scoring from close range. So in terms of his performance, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Person alongside him in the defense, Kwanzaa, a decent performance from him. Similar to Bradley, I thought he was left exposed quite a few times during the game, especially in the first half. And as a right-sided centre-back, I don't think he covered Bradley enough, in my opinion. But when he switched to the left-sided centre-back role in second half, I think it was much better, a bit more composed and assured in possession. So for me, he gets a 6 out of 10 as well. Van Dijk only played for 45 minutes, but his experience was important in the game, as there were a lot of youngsters on the pitch, and quite frankly, they looked quite nervous, especially in the opening 10 minutes. So to have an experienced figure and leader like Van Dijk, who I'm sure was talking to all of the players, trying to keep them calm and telling them to keep going and just focus on playing your football, was a huge plus for the youngsters. Glad that he only played half of the game, as we have some important fixtures coming up in the next coming weeks. He had a solid performance nonetheless. Wasn't able to produce too many long-range passes like his trademark pass, where he switches the ball to the right winger. But he kept it neat and tidy in the back. And yeah, I think he did very well to keep everything composed from a defensive point of view and not to leak any goals before that half time. So for me, he gets a solid ranking. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Tsimikas, I thought was very good in the game, to be fair. Defensively was good, although Ozzie did get quite a few attacks on that right-hand side. But in terms of his general play, I thought he was very good on the ball. Hardly gave it away and showed some good variation in his passing. A very solid performance as it's his first start since returning from injury. And for me, he looks up to speed, which is a bonus for us, as we need all the players for our upcoming fixtures. So for me, he gets a 7.5 out of 10. On to the next player, Joe Gomez. Now, as I mentioned to you guys, I wasn't able to watch most of the game live. So I was checking social media to see what's happening with Liverpool in terms of the score and what's happening in terms of the performances of the players. And poor Joe Gomez was getting all sorts of negative comments about his performance. And after watching it back earlier this morning, I think it's a bit unfair. It's his first time playing as a CDM, and I'm sure he's probably had maybe 1 or 2 sessions at most to prepare for this role. So this is a new territory for him to fill into a position where we're pretty much quite light at the moment. And I actually think he did okay. Positionally, he left the team exposed a couple of times, which is understandable if you're not really, assured in terms of how you play this role. Made a good, but I think he generally did well. He made quite a few good tackles, and his passing was good as well. The selection to play as a CTM for me was not a huge surprise, as he's done the inverted role quite a few times this season. So it was interesting to see how he does in a more conventional role. Klopp mentioned after the games that the fans should stop saying shoot whenever Joe Gomez is on the ball. And I have to be honest, I do agree with Jurgen Klopp there. Now, I've been on Gomez watch for all season now, and I'm really rooting for him to score his first professional goal. But there's moments in the game where I feel like he's in a good position, and when he hears those chants from the crowd, it does distract him a little bit. Like, for example, there was a moment around the 84th minute late in the game where he was charging with the ball on the edge of the box. The crowd were chanting, shoot. And it was a goal, sort of like a goal shooting area, but not really, because it's more on the left side of the box. He decided to hit a through ball towards the left side, which was the right decision. But because of the chants from the crowd, he didn't apply the right speed on the ball with the pass. So I think he lost slight focus there. But hey, it's no big deal. For me, it was a good experiment to see him playing as a CDM, as he could be an option in the upcoming games. You know, we're thin in terms of midfield numbers right now. So yeah, he could be quite important covering that role in the future. So for me, had a okay game. I'm not going to give him a very high ranking, to be honest. So for me, he gets a 6.5 out of 10. On to the next player, McConnell. Very, very impressive performance from the youngster. He's so good on the ball, very easy on the eye in terms of his passing, and he's showing so much different variation in his passing range. I'm excited to see how he does in the coming weeks, and I'm sure he'll be involved a lot more this season, in my opinion. He was a standout player for me in the first half as he tried to make things happen. He was asking for the ball, kept possession very well. So overall, a good performance from our young midfielder there. So for McConnell, I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. In terms of our other young midfielder, Bobby Clark, another good performance from him. Really energetic around the pitch, showed some good ball control and produced neat passes around the pitch. He had a good chance in the first half where he cut in, shot from just outside the box, but unfortunately missed the target. He's another player that I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more in the first team due to our long injury list. But overall, I think he had a good game, provided the assist for the first goal for Kumas. So for me, he gets a 7 out of 10. Harvey Elliott, another solid performance from Harvey Elliott. A quiet first half, I would say, but that goes for everyone else on the team. We weren't very. I don't think we were very sort of intense in terms of our build-up play. We weren't pressing as much. We just sort of lacked speed in our passing. So yeah, we weren't really playing at a good level in the first half. But in the second half, I think Harvey Elliott was more impactful. He was on the ball a lot more, tried to make things happen, tried to be the creative spark in the team. He ended up providing the assist for Jaden Dan's first goal. So for me, another good game from our star boy there. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. The next player, Gakpo. I have to be honest, another quiet performance from Cody Gakpo there. Now, I know a lot of content creators and fans have lost faith in the player. I'm not one of them. I still believe we have a good player in our hands there that can be an important attacker or important player in this team. He just needs to show more aggression in his play and needs to get involved a lot more. When he's in front of goal, he's very good in terms of his finishing, very clinical, and he's also a good dribbler on the ball. He had a moment in the latter stage of the game where he pretty much ran from his own half on a mazy run towards the attacking half, almost scored, but unfortunately his shot was over the bar. So he's capable of producing these kind of moments on a consistent basis. So for me, this is something he needs to work on and try and add a bit more intensity in his game. I feel like it's a bit more controlled in terms of how he plays. So adding a bit more intensity and aggression, I feel like you'll get a different player and a different outcome altogether. But nevertheless, I feel like he worked hard for the team today, just not involved too heavily, and I don't think he had much impact on the game. So for me, gets a slight low ranking. I'll give him a 5 out of 10. And unfortunately, I can't add his score right now, but Kumas, who played on the left wing, despite hitting the back of the net, I thought he had a quiet game. He gave the ball away quite a few times, and I'm not going to be harsh on his performance because he's a young kid. He made his debut today, scored the goal as well. But with more game time experience, I think he'll do really well at the club. Now, I've seen some of his goals this season for the under-18s, and boy, can he shoot. So a proud moment for him and his family for that goal. So yeah, I'm not going to go harsh on his performance or critique him too much. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Now I'll just rank or rate, I should say, the last few substitutes that came on. So it was Konate. He replaced, Van Dijk. So Konate came on. And then you have McAllister that came on for McConnell. There we go. And then the last 2 players I don't think are available on this website I'm using. So Dan's and Yoni are not there. Gordon may be there, so let's see if he is. And it's Gordon, if he's there. No, unfortunately, he's not there either. So we'll just leave it at that. So, but I'll mention their ratings as well at the same time. Let's start with Konate. He was a colossal when he entered that pitch. He was everywhere from a defensive point of view, covering Bradley on a number of occasions on that right side, which I thought Kwanzaa lacked in the first half. Made some fantastic blocks and tackles, added some skill into that back line, and Southampton weren't able to break the deadlock or present any more attacks like they did in the first half. So a very strong performance from Ibu, and he only played one half of the game, but I thought he was so impactful. Like, it was anything that he touched, you could hear the crowd say Ibu so loudly as well in the crowd. Yeah, he was just everywhere. He was a monster on the pitch. So for me, I have to give him a solid ranking, and I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. The next player, McAllister, he brought calmness and composure in the pitch, because I feel like we were lacking that at times, especially in the second half. Produced some lovely, neat passes around the pitch, played a part in the third goal, as it was his pass towards Bradley that created the opening. So for me, a solid ranking for him. Let me bring him on. McAllister. So for me, McAllister gets a 7 out of 10. And I can't add the next two players, but I'll speak about their performance. So Jalen Danns, what an impact from the striker. He plays for around 20-odd minutes and scores a brace. The first finish was sublime, dinking it over the keeper. And the second goal was a real striker's goal. But outside of the goal, I actually feel he played really well. She showed great pressing once again and really worked hard for the team. So for his rating and my man of the match, I'm giving him a 10 out of 10. I don't think he did anything wrong. There's no areas where I feel like he should have done better. He had a good performance altogether. So for me, 10 out of 10. I know he only played for like 20-odd minutes, but that's how impressive he was, in my opinion. The next player, Nioni, who came on for Harvey Elliott. What a moment for the youngster, as I mentioned, 16 years old, and makes his debut at Anfield. A proud moment for him and his family. He showed a lot of promise, some neat touches around the pitch, played with confidence. So a good cameo on his debut. And so, yeah, hope to see him again in the future for Liverpool as well. So his performance, I'll give him a 6 out of 10. And Gordon, that came on for Gakpo, he only played for a few minutes, so I can't really rate him too highly in terms of his overall ranking. But good to see him on the pitch, as he's been so unlucky with constant injuries. So due to his small cameo, I can only give him a 5 out of 10, as it's an average rating that I normally give for someone that comes on late in the game. So that's my player rating, guys. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. I'm just going to go through some of the comments here before we conclude the show. So Anthony Uncle Roz, shout out to you, Uncle Roz. He said it's the 16th. Okay, because I saw a post yesterday, they were debating for 16th, 17th, fine. So that's the 16th, which is, let's have a look at my calendar, on a Saturday. So yeah, okay, so we've got a Saturday fixture. Yeah, fingers crossed we get the job done. I'm confident we will. But yeah, it's our noisy rivals, and I don't want it to be where they're the reasons why we're not able to go all guns blazing for the quads. So yeah, definitely need to get the win for that one. And then Double D, shout out to Double D. He said Gakpo is snatching at his shots. He's better than that, but lots of people are overreacting to his performance. I have to agree, Double D. I think some of the reactions that I've seen from content creators as well as fans on social media, I think it's a bit too much, because there's been a lot of performances this season where he's actually showed a good account of himself, whether it's from general play or from an attacking point of view. In front of goal, I think he's been very clinical. He's got double figures already this season. So I don't know. I think maybe people had very high expectations of him due to the way he ended last season. So that's kind of hidden his reputation, I guess. But at the same time, he's such an important player because he can play left wing very comfortably, can play up top as well. Has played in midfield a few times this season, which is not his strong position, but he's doing a job for the team. He works hard. I just want to see a bit more aggression in his play. and a bit more intensity, a bit more urgency, because I feel like he can be slightly lackluster around the pitch, and the game kind of goes by him at times. But yeah, in terms of shooting, I think that's just due to a bit of confidence where I feel like if it's an instinctive shot, he's really good. But if he's turned and controlled and he's got a bit of time to try and figure out how he's going to execute a shot, I don't think he does it to the speed that he should be doing it. So I have faith in Gakpo. I think he will be an important player for us for the short term and the long term. But yeah, I do agree with you. The reaction from the fans is a bit over the top for me. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Don't get me wrong. But you got to keep that energy. What if he goes on to score hat-tricks for us here and there? Like, you got to keep that same energy for the player. I don't think he's been that bad the way people have made it seem regarding Gakpo. But hey, that's the social media era that we live in. Everyone's got an opinion in terms of performances from players. 1 week they love them, 1 week they don't. All I was to say is keep your energy consistent with regards to players. And if they're Liverpool players as well, show them your support. Every player, even the manager, is entitled to be criticized, but bring some points rather than just have an agenda, say, oh, he's rubbish, get rid of him. Because that's what I've seen a lot more from content creators. I've seen it online from social media fans as well. So it is what it is. I feel like he was quiet, but I could see him talking to Kumas quite a lot during the game and trying to make sure he was pressing correctly or he was in the right position to attack or to press the opponent. So he was more of one of the experienced players on the pitch. So even though he wasn't as impactful, he was still trying to get people involved and try and give everyone the platform to do their thing. So no, yeah, it is what it is. But we got the win in the end, so that's the most important thing. And that concludes the show for today, guys. So thank you to everyone for tuning in, and thank you to Double D and Uncle Rose for the comments. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Next show will be later this evening as I preview our Premier League fixture, which is Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool. The show will begin at 10 p.m. UK time. So I hope to see you all later on today. As always, guys, take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak to you very soon. Goodbye.